Okay, so good evening, everyone. Welcome to the second part of this webinar series with Microsoft. I'm so pleased to welcome Justine Zheng who is the Product Marketing Manager of Windows 10 Accessibility. There are so many options available today when it comes to technology. So we wanted to try and make it a little bit clearer and to let you know what options are actually out there and how they can help you. One of the things that came across quite clearly in the last session, and from speaking to some of the members in our community, was the price of a lot of assistive technology. And we do a lot of sessions through Operation Diversity where we talk about different assistive technology options, but a lot of that is not affordable. So we're really excited about this session tonight because everything you're going to be showing us is already there, available on Windows 10. So I will hand over to you. Would you like to just do a little introduction and let us know a little bit about what you do?
Sure. Okay. So thanks for the intro, Sarah. Like she said, my name is Jiaxin. That's pronounced like machine with a J. And I work on Windows 10 accessibility. I represent a lot of the work that the engineers on Windows accessibility do to try to make Windows accessible to as many people as possible. And I work closely with those engineers to understand those features. And then I also go and I talk to customers a lot to understand, you know, is this meeting your need? Or are there certain features that you think we could maybe improve? How is this doing? Is it meeting your expectations? And taking all that information and putting it together. So if there's any feedback from your end, I'm happy to take that. But also just educating everyone on the accessibility features that are built into Windows. And all the goodness there. So that's a little bit about me. And I'm going to go ahead, Sarah, and share my screen and start, diving into this training on assistive technologies that are built into Microsoft. So give me just a second here. All right, can everyone see my screen okay? I'm going to reduce this. Okay, so as part of Microsoft, I'm just going to reduce this down here. So with accessibility, a big part of, what we're laddering up to is education. We think accessibility is a huge part of that. And Microsoft Education believes in kind of three main pillars that are guiding our initiatives and our efforts. There's a lot of stakeholders in education. There's a lot of people, and there's teachers, students, parents. How do we empower all these different individuals to accomplish the most that they can accomplish? And the first and foremost is just empowering students to do their best work. And by that we mean, we know that there's a diversity of students in the classroom. There's a diversity of abilities, of talents, of where people are from, and we want the tools to reflect that diversity and be there and be available to you. The second is we realize that differentiated learning is something that can be something that can be challenging for teachers to put in the time to make sure that every student has what they need. So we want to make those solutions as easy as possible for the teacher to implement for their various students, and to not lose time, dealing about tech and worrying about technical issues, and just being able to focus on what they want to do, which is to teach and help their students out. And then lastly, all of our products are designed with conformance statements in mind, with regulations. In the US, we have 508. I know in the UK, there's something similar to 508 that requires organizations to meet certain accessibility standards. And these are all things that we're aware of as we're building our products. So you can have some peace of mind there that, what we have will be able to meet certain requirements. One more slide here to just kind of set the stage on, how we think about accessibility in our product. We understand that there's some people that require these features, and that without these features, they wouldn't be able to be as productive as they want to be. But we also realize that these benefits multiply and they extend to more than just the original people that they were built for. This idea of inclusive design, of designing for a very specific set of criteria, actually ends up spurring innovation. And we've seen applications of our accessibility features, which may have originally been built for someone with a visual impairment or hearing impairment, extend to people who are not permanently disabled but realize that they could use these features when they're injured, or situationally disabled when they're, for example, holding a baby with one arm and they can't use that other arm, or carrying a bag of groceries, or in a busy cafe. So these are the other thing there is that we realize disabilities, 70% of them are actually invisible. So you never really know who you might be interacting with, like if they have a disability or not. So we need to create the world in a more inclusive way so more people can engage and be a part of the conversation and overall feel like they're reaching their full potential on a lot of these different areas based on the tools that we have. So that's kind of just overall how Microsoft thinks about education and accessibility. As a representative from Windows, I also kind of want to do give a little context on how Windows thinks about accessibility. Let me get this out of that way. Okay, and there's kind of three main pillars here that guides the Windows engineering team that I love being able to share with people. The first one is that we're all about celebrating differences. So when I say we embrace inclusive design and we embrace accessibility, it means that accessibility is not an afterthought. We're actually bringing it to the front and center of our design process and starting with that at square one, not after the fact to just check a compliance checkbox. We realize it's those differences that actually spur the innovation and push us to create better products. So that's something that we actually put at the center of everything rather than think about after the fact. The second is that we're scenario focused. I'm going to walk through a lot of demos and a lot of features later in this session, but don't get lost in kind of the technical stuff. We realize as engineers that at the end of the day, we're building products for people in real life situations. It's about you being able to get your education or do your job or connect with your family. And those are the guiding North Stars for the design and the engineering team. And then last but not least, we're all about embracing feedback. I'm not sure if some of you are familiar with the Windows Insider program, but it's a way to access pre-release builds before they are rolled out to the public, and you can provide feedback, play around with them, test them, and we actually release a lot of our accessibility features through the Windows Insiders program. So one of the features, text suggestions, that I'm going to show you later is actually already flighted in Insiders build. So while it's not available to everyone, if you're interested in testing that out, the Windows Insider program is a great way to get your hands on that and also provide valuable feedback to the engineering team who see that and then incorporate it into their product. So I'm just going to check the chat box here to make sure that we're not getting any questions. My apologies here. It's my first time using Zoom, so kind of just playing back and forth here. Great, awesome. Yeah, and if you have any questions during this presentation, let me know. Happy to pause and look at those questions. So let's dive into what those Windows 10 accessibility features are. How I think about accessibility in Windows is just providing as many options as possible so that you can have the best Windows experience for you. Windows is the operating system, so it should be seamless. It shouldn't get in your way, and it should enable you to access your homework, access your ideas, access whatever it is that you need to get to. And we have different features for if you have a visual impairment, making your device easier to see or use without a screen. If you have a hearing impairment, we've got tools to cover that. And then if you've got a physical or mobility issues, you can make your device easier to use with limited reach or strength. And then also for cognition, we have tools like learning tools to make it easier to read and write and focus with Windows. So there's just a plethora of options and tools to customize your experience so that it's really the best for you, whether you have a learning difference or you have a working style preference. There's just ways to customize it so that, you know, your device is really personal and reflecting the needs that you have. Just at a glance, these are some of the features that we have available. So with Vision, we have Narrator, which is our built-in screen reader, but it's also compatible with JAWS and NVDA. So we've got best-in-class support for those third-party screen readers. And we've just got a bunch of different features, as I mentioned before, and as you can see in front of you, under each of the areas. And this is just a resource slide for you to understand the options that we have, but I'll be sure to walk through some of these in a demo. And a lot of the time, the big question that I get is, great, Justine, you got all these features, but how can I find them? And I'm going to refer you to the ease of access settings under the general Windows settings. A lot of our accessibility features and settings sit there, so it's a great place to go. And that's also an area that we've made a lot of investments in. What I have here is kind of a before and after of what we currently have on the left side for ease of access, and then what we're going to be releasing in the spring on the right side. As you can see, there's a lot of information architecture that's been updated here, and we're trying to make that information, we're trying to make those features easier to find, easier to get to, easier to discover, learn, and use, so that you know what's available to you and you can access that quickly. So here, these on the left side, these features are listed and we're happy that we have these features, but then on the right side, we've actually categorized it by need. So all the visual settings are grouped together under vision, all the hearing and all the interaction, so that you can quickly identify, okay, if I have this type of need, then I'm going to go to this category. And they're not only grouped by need, they're also listed in kind of the order of who, like the maximum number of people that could benefit from it, all the way down to kind of a smaller subset of people. So for example, for vision, we know that display, like making things bigger, making things smaller, is something that a really, really big portion of the population could benefit from. And then something like Narrator, which is our screen reader for people with low or no vision, that's going to be a more specific set of the population. So it's listed in that order, and so you can quickly find those and identify which features are available to you. Let me check. Okay, so I have a few questions here on the Operation Diversity Facebook page. Can I customize the color? I find some of the boxes hard to read. You can customize themes and displays. I'm not sure exactly the context in which you mean, but under display there are ways to change the exact colors of what you want. And there's a feature called color filters, which I will walk through, which puts a permanent filter kind of over, not permanent, you can toggle it on and off, a filter over your entire Windows operating system if you have any sort of light sensitivity or color sensitivity, stuff like that. Some of the features I'm going to demo today are the ones that are highlighted in blue. I'm going to demo Magnifier and color filters for vision. I'm going to demonstrate IControl under physical, as well as dictation. And dictation is also a feature that I think kind of goes into this cognition bucket, where there's a lot of people that could benefit from it. And I'm also going to be demonstrating learning tools in Microsoft Edge, as well as text suggestions, which is coming soon. And I'm going to first I want to set the context on some of these features before we dive into them, because I'm going through 6 demos, and at any point, if I'm going too fast, feel free to just stop me and let me know. But let me give you some context before I actually dive into those. So for IControl, what it is it's enabling you, it's essentially an alternative to mouse and keyboard if those things are not accessible to you. Using eye tracking technology, you can then control your computer with your eyes. So this picture here down at the bottom, that's a Tobii eye tracker. They were our first partner in getting eye tracking support built into Windows. And where this all started was actually with the guy pictured on the right side, Steve Gleason. He was a former American football player who was a professional football player and was diagnosed with ALS a couple of years ago. And I think ALS actually might be an American regional term. It's essentially a muscular degenerative disease. I think there's a different term for it in the UK. It's on the tip of my tongue, but I can't remember it. And what happens is your motor neurons degrade, making it difficult to do day-to-day things like walking, talking, swallowing, and you eventually lose control over most of your muscles. So it can be it can really affect the quality of your life to go from fully capable and able to someone that is fully dependent on other people to help them out, and is now using a wheelchair to get around. Having to adjust to that is really significant for someone with ALS, and that their sense of autonomy is often something that feels lost. And so Steve Gleason came to Microsoft back in 2014 saying, "Hey, Microsoft, I challenge you to create a wheelchair that I can independently control." And this was an internal hackathon project at first. Our hackathon is this internal event where we come together and work on projects that we're passionate about. So what came out of that was an eye-controlled wheelchair. And Steve Gleason was actually able to use an eye tracker and control his wheelchair. And that hackathon project that we were able to successfully build is what inspired us to ship Windows 10 with this built-in eye control support. So this was on the left side, the first version of IControl that was shipped in our Fall Creators update. And the UI here this is called the Launchpad. And this is how people using IControl are going to interact with their computer. Later when I do my demo, you're gonna see there's more than just 4 buttons, and I'll talk through them. But this is just kind of a preliminary glance of IControl to set that context so you know what's coming. After IControl, I'm going to talk through color filters, which I think of it as kind of this Instagram filter that goes over your entire computer and your entire platform to make things easier to see. So you can pick the filter that's most relevant to you and then just quickly toggle it on and off. And there's also a keyboard shortcut. So once you've figured out which filter works best for you, you can quickly use a keyboard shortcut to enable that. So that's color filters. And then I'm going to show you Magnifier. So again, with just a few quick keystrokes, you can zoom into anything and make it easier to see. This is a great feature if you have low vision or if you're aging and your abilities are changing. This is something that is built right into Windows and accessible right at your fingertips. And then I'm going to walk through Read Aloud in Edge. So if you were part of Mike's session last week, this might seem familiar to you, but Learning Tools is a set of tools and features built into Office that make reading and writing easier. And we're trying to bring some of those tools to other experiences. So Read Aloud, which reads out loud to you any PDF, EPUB, or website, is a feature that we're bringing to our Edge browser, and I'll show you how you can unlock that. And this might be repetitive for some of you who've already seen this, but it's always worth sharing how, we've tested this and we've worked with local researchers to understand whether or not Learning Tools is effective. Are we just tooting our own horn, or is this actually helping students read and write better? And through different metrics, through different tests and reading comprehension exams, we saw that there was a tangible difference, and this was making students perform better in class. Students of all levels, both people who, students who were struggling as well as students that were excelling, they were then able to access more difficult content. And most importantly, students walked away feeling like they were more empowered. It gave them a sense of independence and the ability to control their own learning outcomes. And that's really what it's about at the end of the day. And like I mentioned before, these tools are great regardless of skill level. And we're really trying to, promote this as a productivity tool as well. It's helpful not just for students in education, but as well as adults. At the end of the day, you've looked through so many emails. It might be nice to have it read out loud to you as well. So just a few more demos that we'll do after IControl, color filters, magnifier, and read aloud. Dictation gives you the ability to convert speech to text into any text box on your PC. So as long as you've got Windows 10, this is built in. This is already on your computer, and it's pretty mind-blowing. Like whenever I do dictation, I feel like I've walked into the future. So that's a demo that I'll definitely show you. And this is a feature that's coming in the spring in our next version of Windows called Text Suggestions, which allows you to get your thoughts down in writing with the top 3 word suggestions anywhere you're typing. So this is something that we already had for our touch keyboard, that if you use Surface or any of our touchscreen Windows devices, but it's something that we're now shipping for hardware keyboards as well. So anytime you use a hardware keyboard, this will be supported. This is being released in US English at first, so sorry to my friends in the UK, but we are trying to expand in the future builds to have more languages and supported in this. So let's go ahead and actually dive into those demos. We've got 6 to go through, and at any point, I'm going to pause here for a second to just see if we've got any questions. More chat. All right, so great question from Karen on, is IControl integrated into the computer, or do you need a separate eye gaze component? And if so, do you have a price point? So that's a perfect segue. I'm actually gonna talk through that really quickly. So if you look specifically at me, I've got an eye tracker in hand. So yes, it does require a separate hardware component, and this eye tracker is $150 US dollars from Toby. And based in the US, I just ordered it off of Amazon, and it came in a couple of days with Amazon Prime, and is available at most major consumer electronic shops. So Best Buy will have it, as well as other, European ones as well. So the price point for this is $150, and we really just wanted to incorporate IControl with Windows to lower the barriers of entry for this type of technology. We've seen similar offerings for way more than $150, and we want to get it into the hands of people that could benefit from it. So yeah. Hope that answers your question. So like I said, I've got this IControl tracker here, and I want to walk you through the setup process if you're curious on how this works. So I'm going to go ahead and plug this into my computer. You plug it into a USB port, and then you attach it to your bezel with a little magnetic strip, which I've already put onto the computer. So you'll no longer see this because it's down here at the bottom of my screen, but trust me, it's there. So I've plugged in my Toby eye tracker, and now the next step is to calibrate it to my eyes. So hold on a second, I'm going to escape from PowerPoint, and I'm going to walk you through the calibration process. So here I'm going to improve calibration. I've already created a profile for myself, but if you're perhaps in a classroom where multiple people might be using this, you can store more than one profile for the eye tracker.
Justine, should it be on a different screen or the PowerPoint screen?
It's coming up here.
If you do you want to click to do a new share?
I stopped. Oh, okay. Yes. Thank you everyone for being patient with me on this. Yes, hold on just a second. Let me pull this up.
No worries.
All right, so I'm gonna continue share. Hold on just a second, guys. It wouldn't be a tech demo if there wasn't a technical difficulty, so hold on. Okay, well, I'm having some issues. Give me just a second here, guys. I'm gonna resume share. Okay, so hopefully you can see my screen now. Sarah, is that working?
I can see your screensaver.
Okay, great. So, are you able to see all the things that I'm doing on my computer right now?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So I'm going to turn the IControl Beta on first. So how I get there, ease of access, and then over here on the left, under interaction, you can see IControl Beta, and that's where I am. And now I've turned IControl on, and you can see at the top here that launched this IControl Launchpad. And I know there's a lot of buttons, I know there's a lot of features, but I'm just going to walk you through some of the core pieces of it. Like I said, it's a mouse and keyboard alternative if that's not accessible to you. So we've got a keyboard right here, which hands-free right now, by the way. I'm going to use just my eyes to get to that keyboard. So I'm looking at the screen, and I've dwelled on keyboard, and now I have the keyboard open. So do you guys see kind of how that is blinking? I myself am not blinking, but the screen, that kind of blinking motion, that's how I know it's clicking on that. So I'm gonna dwell again at the keyboard so that you can see that. Actually, I'm gonna turn dwell on so you can see. Actually, never mind. Limited bandwidth. I'm just gonna do what I can here. I can go ahead and enable that keyboard. So yep, I've enabled the keyboard, and I'm going to X out of that with my eyes. And it's also a mouse. So if I want to click on something and open that up, I can do that. I'm going to go ahead and left click on Edge and open up Edge. Again, hands-free. So I've opened up this page, and then I can also move this UI if it's in my way, and I can, open up a new tab and go to my favorite website. So open up a new tab, I'm gonna pull up the keyboard so I can type in Twitter, and I can go and check my social media, press enter, exit out of that keyboard, and then Twitter is gonna be loading in just a second here. But like I can with a hardware mouse and keyboard, I can use IControl to navigate my device and use my device if those things are not accessible for me. Especially something with something like ALS, that is a degenerative disease where you lose abilities over time. We know it's important for people to have multiple different ways to interact available to them so that as their abilities change, they still have ways to interact with their computer and be fully independent in some areas of their life. So again, using my eyes, I can go ahead and click on messages and open up messages. I'm not very popular, so I don't have any direct messages to check, but just to show you some of those capabilities, you know, you can use that to navigate your computer. And this, again, like I said, started with Steve Gleason. It started with the people that are giving us their feedback and letting us know about what they value and what is important to them. So please, you know, give us your feedback. We do take it into consideration and build it into our product. So that's iControl. Some of the features, what I just showed you now was kind of the core functionality, but we do have some new features coming to iControl in the next build of Windows. So being able to move this UI up and down the screen has always been part of it. Being able to click is part of it. And also now you can pause iControl. So if I just want to read my screen or watch a movie without that UI in the way, I can pause that. And then I can re-engage it quickly by staring at the center there and then turning it on. So that's the basics of iControl. Oh, one more thing is that there's also a text-to-speech capability. So I can you know, program this with my top greetings. Hello, bye.
Hello.
Oh, there we go.
Goodbye.
Yeah, so now you can hear it. And these top 5 right here,
Goodbye.
you can change it to whatever you want. So if you have a specific greeting like what's up or hey, it's Jiaxin, you can program that to be one of your top 5 or type out a customized message. I'm going to X out of that. So that's iControl. Let me know if you have any other questions, but again, that Tobii eye tracker is $150 and available at most major consumer electronic shops. And we're excited to get your feedback on this if this is something that you think could be helpful. I'm going to go ahead and now turn off the IControl Beta so that it's not interfering with the rest of the demo. And I'm going to move into color filters. So like I mentioned before, a lot of our settings are in ease of access. So I'm just going to pause for a second and check the questions here. Okay. All right. And like I mentioned, so we're in settings. We're going to go into ease of access, and color filters is going to be in those vision features, and color filters is right there. And this is an insider's build, so your color filters may not look exactly like this, but the functionality is still the same. And I can pick any one of these color filters to based on what I need. And this color wheel here can actually help me quickly identify which one might be helpful. So if I want to see what grayscale looks like, I can go ahead and turn that on and see what that color wheel looks like. The whole screen is now gray. Turn that off. Or if I have red-green color blindness, I can go ahead and pick one of those filters and turn that on and see how that affects the colors. What I want to show you here is that it's not just on this page or for one specific picture, it's for the entire platform. So if I am in Excel and I have a file like this, which it has red-green conditional formatting, and I have red-green color blindness, this document is actually kind of difficult for me to see. And I actually have a friend in finance who frequently gets documents like this, which is only formatted with color, which is a big no-no. You should always have more than just color to indicate differences or information. And this is a common use case for him as someone in finance. So if I were him, I could quickly go into color filters and pick the type of red-green color blindness that I have and toggle that on. And keep your eyes on the right here. You can see how those colors now become easier to distinguish. And it's not just within the file. If you get your eyes down to the bottom of the screen, you see my icons, those colors are changing too. So it's really across the entire platform that you're getting this. And again, this is a feature that's built in. It's already there. So if you have Windows 10, or at least the most updated version of Windows 10, these features are available to you. I'm going to check the chat really quickly. You're selling to people with disabilities here, 150. How does that work? We totally get that. We want these technologies to be free, and that's where we're trying to push this to. Similar solutions for iControl are actually, you know, in thousands of dollars, and we're really just trying to bring that cost down. So while we're not completely at zero yet, it's something that we are actively working on, and we do want to move in that direction. We do believe that technology should be accessed by as many people as possible. We're just trying to get there one step at a time. And are there more questions? Will these features be, oops, sorry. Will these features be available on the iPad versions? iPad versions of, iPad version of any specific app, or the color filter is specific to the Windows operating system. So for iPad, this is not something that we have built in because it's a completely separate operating system. And I'm glad that other people are already using something like this. Okay, great. So that's color filters. I have a few more demos here. I want to show you quickly what Magnifier looks like. So I'm going to close out of this and just show you quickly how, if I am on a page here and there's something, any page, any picture, any document, anywhere in Windows, there's something that is a little bit difficult for me to see, I can quickly engage Magnifier with 2 keystrokes. So with Win plus, I can go ahead and turn Magnifier on. So I just pressed Windows plus. There we go. And as you push plus again, you can zoom in more and more, and you can push Windows minus to zoom out pretty seamlessly as well. So if anything that might be more difficult for me to see, I can just turn Magnifier on. Let me reduce that, and toggle it anywhere that I need to on the page so that I can see what's in front of me. So to get out of it, all I have to do is either zoom out manually with the minus, or I can just press Windows Escape, and that will take me out of Magnifier. So we walked through iControl, which is a great feature for people with limited mobility. We've walked through color filters and Magnifier for people with any sort of visual impairments. I want to now get into some of those tools for cognitive differences. I'm going to start with read aloud here, like I mentioned. So to do that, I'm going to pull up a PDF here. Close out of this. All right, so I've got a PDF in front of me. And we know that for students with learning differences such as dyslexia, a page like this might not be that accessible to them because these words are, they are jumbled together. There's a lot of words in front of me, and there might be visual crowding, just many different reasons for why this page might not be accessible. And with Read Aloud, what it is all you have to do is, click on the page and this bar engages, and this button right here is the Read Aloud feature. I'm going to go ahead and show you what that does.
Chapter 3. While leading the way upstairs, she recommended that I should hide the candle and not make a noise for her.
So it reads the word as it's highlighting it and blocking out the rest of the page. We know we've heard students with dyslexia really utilize these features, as well as students with ADHD, because having that audio signal as well as the visual signal together is a great way to form that cognitive connection. And this voice can easily be, and for some people, that voice might have been too slow. For others, it might have been too fast. Regardless, you can adjust it to meet your needs. And you can change the voice. So if you prefer a UK English as opposed to a US English, that's available. Or if you're reading a book in a different language, you can download language packs to support that. So that's Read Aloud in PDF for PDFs, but this is available on general web browsing as well. So if this is just a Wikipedia site, if I want this page to be read out loud to me, all I have to do is right click and then press Read Aloud. And Edge will go ahead and read that back to me.
By Mountaineer and author Kaiyo Fukada.
All right, so that's a little too fast.
4.5 Western Japan.
There we go. Yep. And I do want to give you a sneak peek into what's coming for Read Aloud. Right now, Read Aloud is supported for PDF, EPUB, and general web browsing. Some of you may be familiar with Reading View. Let me pull that up really quickly. And some people have pointed out to me that Read Aloud is not available in Reading View. And in the next build that's coming out, it actually will be available. Just let me find it here. Here we go. So what Reading View is if you're on an article, like a news article here, what Reading View allows is a more concentrated focus mode to read the content. So on a page like this, I want to read about Mongolia's obsession with pine nuts, but there's all these ads, all these other links that are just really, really stressful and distracting. And what I can do is go up here into Reading View, and it strips it down into just the core content. It reduces those links, those advertisements, so that you're really just focused on the article. And we've brought Read Aloud to this view as well. So if you are reading current events or on a website that is more text heavy, you can go into this view and
Mongolia's
enable
obsession
Reading
with pine
View.
nuts. www.
And the other thing that we've now added for Reading View is grammar tools. So I just showed you how you can do Read Aloud.
Mongolia's obsession with.
But you can also change the page, so add some text spacing or reduce text spacing, because we know for some people with visual crowding as a concern, having that spacing helps them decode text more. And you can change the color to something that's easier on the eyes depending on what's best for you. And we've also added grammar tools to Reading View. So if you're maybe a first-time English language learner, or you are a young student and this information would be helpful for you, we can turn parts of speech on. So those nouns are now going to be highlighted in purple. And let me actually change the background here so you can more easily see that. And I could quickly turn that off. I can highlight verbs, I can highlight adjectives, and I can also split these words into syllables, which we know is also a great method for helping young readers as well as students with learning differences decode text more quickly. So all these things are built into Reading View, and they're also built into EPUBs. So if you've got an online textbook that's an EPUB, you can do that as well. Let me give a brief demo of that. I've got Alice in Wonderland pulled up here. Same thing as before. I can just go up into the bar here to change the page, change the spacing, or also engage with the grammar tools and either break words into syllables or pull up parts of speech. I'm just going to pause here for a second to look at questions. Will Speak be able to read more than just 5 apps in Office? Speak as in, Deborah, if you could clarify the question as in, do you mean the Read Aloud feature that I was just showing, whether that will be available to more apps? If that's the question, it's something that we're working on, but right now it is limited availability. So that was Read Aloud, and we know that for students with learning differences, reading it can be challenging, but also writing can also be something that students struggle with. So we want to highlight dictation as a tool that is available to them. So I can dictate into any text box. I'm going to show you here, I'm just going to dictate into a comment. So I want to make a comment on this PDF that I might be annotating for class. And all I'm going to do to activate dictation is press Windows H. So Win H. Make a note to ask my professor about this chapter. Stop dictating. And just like that, I can get my notes out or get my thoughts out there because, you know, we know that people have great ideas. Everyone has great ideas, but when you come up to the keyboard, typing them out can, you know, you can encounter like a freeze there because spelling is difficult to you, or, you know, you have another type of spelling disability. So with tools like dictation, we really want everyone to be able to express their ideas, because that ability to express your idea follows you for your entire life, as a kid in the classroom all the way to an adult in the meeting room. This is a tool that we want as many people as possible to use if it can potentially help you. So that's dictation. And another writing tool that we're now shipping with the next version of Windows is the text suggestions that I mentioned before. So dictation, again, is a feature that's available to you. I could dictate into this Word document if I wanted to.
Shane, can I just ask, when you do dictate, where does the file go on the computer? Because I know when we did the session with Mike, I know everyone rushed off to get on their computers and try it all out. But where can they find the recordings afterwards?
Find recordings
of the file. So if you're sat there reading a PDF, and when you get home, you then want to open up the document to follow up, where is it located on the computer?
Yeah. So this one is just, this is a sticky note saved within the PDF. So I will just I'll close it and that sticky note will be right there, and that'll be within the PDF. But if I'm dictating into a Word document, it's just another alternative to typing. So it saves like a regular document.
Okay.
Did we have any other questions, Sarah, that I didn't get to?
Yeah. Is there a predictive text option for dyslexic learners?
Yes. So that is what I'm going to get through, the text prediction feature that I want to show now. And
there are another couple if you want to see if they're relevant to this particular bit. There's a new feature in Office called Speak. It reads what you've highlighted. You need to add it to the QAT.
Let me follow up on that because I'm not quite familiar with that.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and, am I still sharing?
No.
Okay. Share screen. Okay, so the last demo I wanted to show was text suggestions. So this is a feature that you is not automatically turned on by default, so you do have to actively turn it on. In order to do that, I'm just going to go into search bar and search for the feature, and it's going to pull it up. So I'm just going to search text suggestions, and I want show text suggestions as I type on the hardware keyboard. So I'm going to open that up. And then I'm going to go ahead and turn that on. So that feature is now on. And I'm going to continue writing this report about the Amazon rainforest. So you'll see text suggestions show up here. Local. Uh-oh. Hold on just a second here. I may be a little bit limited on bandwidth because of the webinar here, but all right, so unfortunately that feature is not working for me at the moment, but if we go back into the PowerPoint here, let me pull this up.
Are these slides going to be available for everyone afterwards as well?
Yes, yes. I can send the slides out to everyone. Sorry about all these technical difficulties. All right, I'm gonna share my screen again. Yeah, so unfortunately I wasn't able to show this to you, but as you're typing, the top 3 word suggestions will show up. So we're releasing this in US English in the next build of Windows, and it's something that will be available in any text box. So if you're typing in OneNote, if you're typing in Office, or if you're typing an email online, this is something that will be available to you. So yeah, those were the demos that I walked through. I know it was a lot of a lot of demos, but just to briefly recap, we walked through IControl, the calibration process there and some of the functionality. We walked through built-in color filters and Magnifier for visual impairments and visual considerations. And then I walked through read aloud, dictation, and also talked about text suggestions as potential tools that you can use for any cognitive differences. And another tool that I wanted to briefly highlight was Seeing AI. It's a free iOS app. So all those tools I talked about are great for your computer, but what about in your day-to-day? Seeing AI is a talking camera app that allows you to kind of just open up the app, point it at something, and it'll give you information. So if I pulled up the app on my phone and took a picture of myself, it would say, girl in her 20s looking happy or worried, depending on my facial expression. And if this is something that could potentially help you, go ahead and go to that link and check it out. We are a little short on time, so I can't walk through it, but we've heard some really, really great feedback from people who've been able to get that contextual visual information around them. We've heard someone being able to read the menu at a restaurant for the first time because of Seeing AI, and also people who've been able to take their first selfie because it gives you directional guidance on, point it this way or move it left to get that picture taken. So this is also another thing that we have available from Microsoft. Some of you might be wondering, okay, these tools are all great, but I don't have the most recent version of Windows, or how do I check that I have the most recent version of Windows? All you have to do is type WinVer into your search bar to confirm what version you have. And as long as you have 1709 or higher, you'll be able to have all the features I talked about, except for text suggestions, which is coming in the future. And I mentioned the Windows Insider program. It's a great way to get access to those things beforehand. And I'm going to leave you with this on kind of what we talked about today. We talked through those different features, IControl, read aloud, text suggestions. For the features that have relevant keyboard shortcuts, I've included those there below. And then I have 2 links on just how to join the Windows Insider program, and then how to download Seeing AI if that's something that could help you out. But again, these are all built-in, free, except for the eye tracker for IControl. Everything else is built into Windows, and we really want to just try to bring that barrier down for assistive technology. So I'll hand it back over to you, Sarah. Thank you.
Lovely, thank you. I think there's a couple of extra questions that people are asking. You mentioned a full screen color overlay earlier. Is that an option on there?
Full screen, so by that I meant just the color filters to make those colors more distinguishable. And there's the ones for red, green color blindness, blue, yellow, color sensitivity, and then there's also grayscale, but there isn't kind of like an Erlen overlay over the entire computer. So apologies, I might have misspoke there.
Yeah, I mean, if you wanted that, the one I've been using it is N overlay. That you can install. It will cost you £1 if you wanted to give £1 to use this overlay, and that would work on the computer. Or you can actually buy physical screen overlays. I mean, we sell them at Operation Diversity, places like Crossbow or eInsist, they also sell them on dyslexic.com. Yeah, what else was there? There was another question asking about even the extra large pointers, not very large. Can we get one that is really big?
I'll pass that feedback on to the team.
Okay, lovely. I had a question as well. I didn't discover using assistive technology until I was at university. I have no idea how I managed to make it there in the first place, because I was diagnosed as dyslexic when I was 26 with visual stress. So I had all of this technology, and I found that I didn't really use it as much as what I could have done. One of the reasons I didn't use the screen reader was because of the voice, the monotone text. It is quite hard to listen to. So is it an option that you can actually integrate it with any other voices? I know like Bulabolka, that they can actually sell you a range of voices. Does that work with Microsoft devices?
There are other voices and language packs that you can download. I'm not completely sure on whether or not you can go through like a different party, but there are other options available. So if that specific one rubbed you the wrong way, there are alternatives.
Yeah, lovely. Okay, thank you. Does anyone else have any questions? I'm just popping over to the Facebook page.
Yeah, I pulled up the Q&A and there are some questions here, and I'll just quickly get to them. So Read Aloud, will Read Aloud come to other Microsoft products like the Office suite? Read Aloud is actually a feature that's already in Office. The whole learning tools, Read Aloud is part of the broader learning tools suite. And in Word, you can actually have Read Aloud for the things that you create. So it's in Word, and we're working on bringing it to more features within Office, but some of those features are already there. Muriel asked if dictation is available now in the Fall Creators Update. Yes, it is. Go and play around with it. What languages does dictation support? I can follow up separately on that, but there are multiple languages. They are the languages that are downloaded for Read Aloud. And there are some support pages that I can refer you to that have the full list there. And I might have missed this, but did you create your document in Researcher and heading tools? No, they were just, I did not create the document in Researcher, but you should definitely come to Malvika's session next week about accessible content authoring, because she'll talk about Researcher. So I think I got through all the Q&A there. Yeah,
that's cool. So the session that you mentioned that is happening next week, obviously this is a part 3 of 3-part series. If you want to just pop over to the Facebook page, I will post the link so that you can register for part 3, and as I said, the parts 1 and 2 are going to be on the Operation Diversity YouTube channel, so just pop over there, subscribe, give us a like, and as soon as the videos go live, they're there and you can watch them as many times as you need to. I will also email everyone that's registered for this webinar a copy of the slides. If you're watching on Facebook, can you please just send us a message on our Facebook page, and I will make sure that you get a copy of the slides as well. Oh, okay. So I'll leave you there. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you everyone that came. It was a really, really great session because there's just so much available. And I know that there are so many people that don't even know that these things exist on the computers. So thank you very much for sharing that with us.
Thank you, everyone.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Bye.